closely. This is Latasha Barrett, a 14-year public storage property manager. You're witnessing the exact moment her carefully constructed life begins to collapse. She would not get the chance to explain. Within 48 hours, detectives from the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office would pull every account modification log tied to her employee credentials. And what they found would turn a routine customer complaint into a felony investigation. One victim, $96,400 in designer goods. Every digital trace pointing back to the same name, the same login, the same manager who had been running that storage facility for 14 years. Before we go any further, have you ever rented a storage unit and trusted a facility with something irreplaceable? Leave a comment below and let us know. And if you're not subscribed yet, now's the time. We hold authority figures accountable every single week. Latasha Barrett was born in Riviera Beach, Florida, a city wedged between the Intracoastal Waterway and the Atlantic, a working-class community tucked just north of West Palm Beach. Her mother cleaned rooms at a hotel on Singer Island, the kind of job where you're invisible by design. Her father ran delivery routes across Palm Beach County, up before dawn 6 days a week, back after dark. The household ran on schedules and margins. There wasn't much room for error, and Latasha understood that before most kids understood anything. She was the organized one. The one who kept the grocery list on the refrigerator door. The one who remembered which bills were due on which dates. The one who, at 10 years old, was already tracking what belonged where, who owed what, and who hadn't paid attention. When she was 12, her family drove to a storage facility in Lake Worth to retrieve her grandmother's belongings after she passed. Latasha remembered the smell of the place, sealed air, cardboard, the faint trace of motor oil from the roll-up doors, and the rows of orange units stretching back farther than she could see. She remembered thinking the units were like paid secrets, things people couldn't let go of but couldn't keep close, things that existed in the space between a life and the next version of it. She enrolled at Palm Beach State College at 18, but left before completing a degree. Money was tight, and the program wasn't moving fast enough. At 22, she took a job as a receptionist at a self-storage facility in Lake Worth, $8.50 an hour, behind a laminate counter, answering phones and filing lease agreements. She learned the software quickly. She learned the lien process. She learned the difference between a tenant who logged into their account every week and one who hadn't touched it in 3 years. She learned that the facility ran mostly on trust, and that the trust mostly ran one direction. In 2011, she was hired as a property associate at Public Storage, 4390 Hypoluxo Road, Boynton Beach, Florida. It was a standard commercial location, a 2-story facility along a busy corridor, rows of climate-controlled units behind a keypad gate, the kind of place you drove past without noticing unless you needed it. She worked her way up steadily. By 2014, she held the property manager title. She ran the facility largely on her own during weekdays. Her evaluations used language like self-sufficient, thorough knowledge of facility protocols, trusted to open and close independently. For years, that trust was exactly what it appeared to be. Latasha knew her tenants. She knew the snowbirds who kept units loaded with furniture between Florida seasons. She knew the small business owners cycling inventory in and out. She knew the out-of-state customers who set up automatic payments through the app and never came in. She was, by every visible measure, exactly the person you wanted running your property. That was the foundation. And, like every foundation in this story, it was also the problem. Public Storage is the largest self-storage company in the United States. More than 2,700 locations nationwide. Most customers never speak to a staff member after signing their initial lease. They manage everything through an app: rent payments, gate access codes, delinquency notifications, account updates. The relationship between tenant and facility is almost entirely digital. A customer in Los Angeles renting a unit in Boynton Beach has no reason to call, no reason to visit, no reason to check on anything as long as the account is current and the notifications are quiet. The lien and auction process at a Florida facility operates under Florida Statute 83.806. Miss a payment and the clock starts. 30 days in, the account enters delinquency. At 60 days, a formal lien notice must be issued to the tenant. Between 90 and 120 days, the unit becomes eligible for auction. Every notification at every stage goes to the email address on file. No email, no notice. No notice, no knowledge. No knowledge, no defense. The property manager at any public storage location holds two levels of override access. The first is physical, a master cylinder key that can open any unit on the property without the tenant's lock code. The second is digital, administrative credentials inside the facility management system that allow modification of any tenant account field. Email address, gate code, access PIN, account status, emergency contact. These overrides exist for legitimate purposes: locked out customers, estate recoveries, corrections needed after a death in the family. There is no secondary approval required for most edits. One manager, one login, full control over every account on the property. No automated alert was configured to fire when a manager modified a tenant's email address. No secondary flag was triggered when the same manager's credential appeared in both the account modification log and the subsequent unit access log within the same billing cycle. The audit trail existed. It recorded everything. It just wasn't being watched. Victor Nwosu had been renting a unit at 4390 Hippoluxo Road for several years. He lived in Los Angeles. He was a collector. Designer handbags, clothing, limited release footwear, accessories accumulated across nearly a decade of deliberate acquisition. He stored the collection in Florida while between residences. He paid his rent through the app on a set schedule. He had no reason to visit the facility, no reason to call, no reason to question anything. He had, by every measure, made himself invisible. And Latasha Barrett noticed. In the spring of 2025, Latasha accessed Victor's account through her property manager credentials. The first move was the email address. She changed it from his registered address to one she controlled. From that moment forward, every automated message from Public Storage's system went to her inbox. Delinquency alerts, lien notices, access confirmations, system updates. Victor received nothing. She then reset his gate code and access PIN. His app credentials stopped working entirely. If he tried to log in, the system returned an error. No account found, no active lease, no unit, no record from the customer-facing side that Victor Nwosu had ever rented at 4390 Hippoluxo Road. She cut the lock on his unit and replaced it with a facility-issued lock. This step was textbook delinquency procedure. A property manager cuts the tenant's lock and installs a facility lock at the 60-day mark to prevent access during the lien period. On paper, what Latasha had done looked exactly like a manager working a routine overdue account. The system had no way to distinguish between a legitimate delinquency action and a staged one. She knew that. Then she opened the unit. The contents of Victor Nwosu's storage unit were worth $96,400. Designer handbags, high-end clothing, limited edition footwear, items he had sourced and stored over years, each one documented and inventoried. Latasha removed them across multiple visits. A co-defendant, identified in the arrest record as Dion Calloway, is alleged to have assisted in the removal and transport of the goods. Within 30 days of the email change, the unit was empty. Victor Nwosu tried to make a payment through the Public Storage app in June of 2025. The app returned an error. He assumed a technical issue and tried again the following day. Same error. He called the Boynton Beach facility. The employee who answered told him his account had been closed and his unit cleared. He had not missed a payment. He had not received a single notification at any stage. Not one delinquency alert. Not one lien notice, not one phone call, not one letter. Because every automated message from that system, from the moment Latasha changed the email address, had been going to someone else. He called Public Storage Corporate. Corporate pulled the complete account modification history for his unit. What they found was a precise, time-stamped record of every step that had been taken, and every step traced back to the same employee credential. The email change, Latasha Barrett's login, April 2025. The gate code reset, same credential, same week. The lock cut notation entered into the system, same credential. The subsequent unit access entries logged by the keypad system, same credential, multiple dates across a 2-week window. Every action, one name. Corporate contacted the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office the same day. Detectives executed search warrants on the public storage facility, on Latasha Barrett's personal vehicle, and on her residence in Boynton Beach. At her home, investigators recovered designer goods matching Victor Nwosu's documented inventory, handbags, clothing, and footwear consistent with the contents of his storage unit. The recovery was partial. Some items had already been moved. The account modification log was the smoking gun, a single database entry, Latasha Barrett's employee ID, Victor Nwosu's account number, a field change from his registered email to a controlled address, and a timestamp. Permanent, unalterable. She had no explanation for it that the documented payment history would support. Text messages recovered from Latasha's phone during the search warrant placed her in direct communication with Dion Calloway in the weeks surrounding the theft. Investigators documented the following exchange. Calloway, April 14th, 2025. You going in again this week? Barrett. Wednesday, bring the big bags. Calloway, April 16th, 2025. How many trips you think? Barrett. However many it takes, nobody's checking. Calloway, April 22nd, 2025. Last of it? Barrett. Last of it. Nobody's checking. Those 2 words told investigators everything they needed to understand about how Latasha Barrett had been thinking about this property for years. Not as a facility she managed, but as a system she had learned to navigate without consequence. Detectives subsequently audited her full account modification history across her 14-year tenure at the Boynton Beach location. The review was ongoing as of the date of her arrest, examining whether other out-of-state or long inactive tenants had been similarly targeted. Victor Nwosu was the case that broke it open. He may not have been the first. On July 14th, 2025, Detective Andre Pham of the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office walked into public storage at 4390 Hypaluxo Road at 10:22 in the morning. Latasha Barrett was seated behind the counter. The monitor on her desk was dark. She had turned it off before he arrived. She stood when he entered. She watched him cross the floor. He placed his badge on the counter. Detective Pham. Ms. Barrett, we know about the account modifications. Barrett. I don't know which account you mean. I process delinquency accounts every week. Detective Pham. The Nwosu account, the email change, the access reset. It's all timestamped under your employee ID. Barrett. That timestamp doesn't tell you why I made those changes. You're looking at a delinquency workflow and calling it something it's not. Detective Pham placed the search warrant and the account log printout on the counter. Her name. Her employee ID. The dates. Detective Pham. We recovered the goods from your residence, Ms. Barrett. She looked at the documents. Her hands went still. 14 years of institutional access, of knowing every system, every gap, and someone had finally looked at the log. Barrett. Whatever you found, it is not what you think. I have done nothing wrong. I followed every... Detective Pham. Hands behind your back, Ms. Barrett. She did not finish the sentence. Latasha Barrett and Dion Calloway were arrested on July 14th, 2025. Barrett faces a count of grand theft over $20,000, a first-degree felony under Florida Statute 812.014, carrying up to 30 years, and burglary to an unoccupied structure, a third-degree felony under Florida Statute 810.02, carrying up to 5. Under Florida's Criminal Punishment Code, the documented loss value of $96,400 scores her case into state prison guidelines without a downward departure. Defense attorney Niles Carrington entered a not guilty plea on her behalf. The anticipated defense argues that the account modification log reflects a legitimate delinquency workflow, not a theft. That the email change was an administrative correction, that Barrett followed every protocol this company has. The problem with that argument is Victor Nwosu, who had made every payment. Victor Nwosu, whose account showed zero delinquency prior to the email change. Victor Nwosu, who received nothing, not one automated message, because someone in Boynton Beach had rerouted them all. The case is pending in the 15th Judicial Circuit, Palm Beach County. The trial date has not yet been set, but the modification log does not need to be interpreted. It timestamps itself. It names itself. It has been sitting in Public Storage's servers since April 2025, patient and permanent, waiting for someone to look. Victor Nwosu spent months trying to understand why his account didn't exist before investigators finally reached him with the full picture. A collection built across nearly a decade. $96,400. Some of it recovered from a house in Boynton Beach, most of it gone. The person who took it had been given master keys to every lock on the property. She had been given administrative override access to every account in the system. She had been trusted for 14 years to be the last line of protection between that building and the people who stored their lives inside it. Public Storage, following the investigation, initiated a review of its internal alert protocols, examining whether account email changes made by the managing employee of record, rather than the customer, should trigger automatic escalation to a district manager and a direct text notification to the phone number associated with the account. The gap Latasha Beret exploited was not hidden. It was structural, built into the system from the beginning. She simply understood, earlier than anyone noticed, that nobody was watching. If you've made it this far, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Stories like this one don't get national coverage. We cover them every week. 6 years, $96,400. One collector in California who tried to make a payment and found out his account didn't exist. That's all it took to unravel 14 years of trust, and to find the log that had been recording every move she made under her own name the whole time. That case was unsettling. But the next one on your screen right now, the access that person had was even more personal. Click it.